Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between a man and a woman as the man inquires about piano lessons for his daughter. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
Good morning. Are you Mrs. Irving, the piano teacher?
That's right. How can I help you?
My name's Johnson. My 8-year-old daughter Emily really wants some piano lessons. She's been asking for them since last December, and she's now decided it should be her birthday present.
Really? Well, I would be delighted to teach your daughter. How did you hear about me?
Well, I spent a long time searching on the internet and checking notice boards in music shops. But in the end, a friend of mine told me about you and that you had done a great job with his young son.
Well, that's nice to hear. Has Emily done any playing before?
Not really. Her uncle has a piano and he lets her play around on it when we visit him. He lives quite a long way away, though.
Will Emily have a piano to practice on between lessons? This is really important if the lessons are to have a proper effect.
I've looked into the costs of buying and hiring. Hiring a piano is quite cheap, so I'll do that to start with. If Emily really takes to it and wants to carry on long term, I'll end up buying one, I expect.
Okay. Now, the way I work is to have my students come to my home for the lessons. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine. You live in Chatsworth Road, is that right?
Yes, that's right, at number 9.
So how much will Emily need to practice?
At the beginning, I would recommend that she has 3 practices of half an hour each week, with one of the practices being the day before the lesson. When she gets better, she will need to have the same number of practices, but maybe for longer periods.
I suppose the more practice Emily does, the better she'll get and the more rewarding the experience will be.
Exactly. Now, when would Emily like to have her lessons?
We thought that before school would be too early, and although Emily would like to do it after school, we think she might be too tired. Saturday mornings would seem to be the best.
That would be fine. Is 10 a.m. convenient? The lessons last an hour.
That's fine. By the way, what do you charge for lessons?
The basic cost is £25 an hour. However, if you would like to book a series of 10 lessons and pay in advance, I offer a 10% discount, which would make it £22.50 a lesson. In addition, if you book and pay for 20 lessons in advance, I offer a 20% discount, which would make it £20 a lesson.
That's very interesting. What I will do is to book just 5 lessons to begin with. If Emily finds that she likes it, and if she is doing her practice, I'll book for longer and take advantage of the discounts.
That's fine.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, Mr. Johnson, I have another beginner who would like to start at more or less the same time as Emily. Would you consider a shared class at the start? This would cut the price by 30% and would be less money to spend on something that you don't know your daughter will like.
Oh, thanks for the offer, Mrs. Irving, but I think I'd like Emily to have the lessons on her own. I think she'll develop her motivation better that way.
No problem. I just wanted to ask in case you felt like saving some money. Now, there's an important child protection issue that I need to bring up, as I will be responsible for your child. How will she come to the lessons and how will she go home?
Thanks for thinking of that. We live so close that driving or taking the bus would be silly. Emily's very confident, so she'll come on foot, even in bad weather. We will come with her and be there to pick her up at the end.
Good. That's something I always worry about.
Will you be the only person in the house during the lessons? Will any of your family be here, for example?
No. My husband died a few years ago, and my daughter has a place of her own now. Sometimes the cleaner works during the times of Emily's lessons, but she won't be any problem.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything that Emily should bring with her? A paper and pencil, for example?
Nothing like that. What might be good, though, is a snack, as children of her age often will get hungry. We can have a short break after half an hour for it.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Finally, Mr. Johnson, how would you like to pay for Emily's lessons? I can give you bank details for a transfer, or I still take cheques.
I'd rather give Emily cash and she can give that to you every lesson. Is that okay?
Of course. I don't know anyone who turns that down. That's better for me than a bank transfer or cheque.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a woman on a radio program giving some information about saving energy in the home. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully to the radio program and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra, and I'm an expert in domestic energy conservation. I've been invited to come on today's show to give you some advice for saving energy in the home. To begin with, I'd like to tell you some strategies that nearly all householders can take advantage of. First of all, I'd like to talk about standby mode on appliances. Almost all electrical and electronic appliances can be turned off at the plug without upsetting their programming. You may also want to think about getting a standby saver, which allows you to turn off all your appliances that are on standby in one go. Most households can save up to $50 a month by doing this. The washing machine is another place where savings can be made on electricity. Many people wash clothes at 40 degrees Celsius, but cutting this to 30 degrees Celsius would reduce electricity use by 40% over a year, saving around $50 annually on energy bills. Another electrical saving can be made by turning lights off when you're not using them. This can save an average wasteful household around $60 a year on the annual energy bill. Finally, employing energy-saving bulbs all around the house could cut electricity bills by $60 a year. Next, I'd like to talk about people's showers. If you've got a shower that takes hot water straight from your boiler or hot water tank rather than an electric shower, fit a water-efficient shower head. This will reduce your hot water usage while retaining the sensation of a powerful shower. A water-efficient showerhead could save a 4-person household $100 a year on gas for water heating, as well as a further $150 on water bills. In addition, spending 1 minute less in the shower each day will save around $15 off your energy bills each year, per person, as well as reductions off the annual water and sewerage bills.
You now have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the radio program and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now I'd like to talk about heat and heat conservation. First of all, it's absolutely essential to have various forms of insulation. Places for home insulation include the roof, walls and floors, and pipes and hot water tanks. Making sure your home is well insulated can significantly reduce unnecessary heat loss, leading to lower energy bills and a more comfortable home. Another type of insulation can be to deal with drafts. Unless your home is very new, you will lose some heat through drafts around doors and windows, gaps around the floor, or through the chimney. The draft proofing of windows and doors, and blocking cracks in floors and skirting boards can cost around $300, but can save up to $50 to $60 a year on energy bills. People also need to take control of the heating of their houses. More than half the money spent on fuel bills goes towards providing heat and creating hot water. Having a room thermostat, a programmer, and thermostatic radiator valves installed could save between $150 and $200 a year. Even turning down a room thermostat by just 1 degree can save around $120 a year. In addition to these controls, smart heating controls are the latest innovation to help you control your heating and understand your energy use. They allow people to control their heating remotely via a mobile app, meaning that they can manage the temperature of their homes from wherever they are at whatever time of day.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear 2 students discussing a project they have to do as part of a literature course on great books. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Joey. How are you doing? I heard you were sick.
Oh, hi, Olivia. Yeah, I had a virus last week, and I missed a whole pile of lectures, like the first one on the great books in literature, where Dr. Castle gave us all the information about the semester project.
I can give you copies of the handouts. I've got them right here.
That's okay. I already collected the handouts, but I'm not very clear about all the details. I know we each have to choose an individual author. I think I'm going to do Carlos Castaneda. I'm really interested in South American literature.
Have you checked he's on the list that Dr. Castle gave us? We can't just choose anyone.
Yeah, I checked. It's okay. Who did you choose?
Well, I was thinking of choosing Ernest Hemingway, but then I thought, no, I'll do a British author, not an American one. So I chose Emily Bronte.
Okay. And first of all, it says we have to read a biography of our author. I guess it's okay if we just look up information about him on the internet?
No, it's got to be a full-length book. I think the minimum length's 250 pages. There's a list of biographies. Didn't you get that?
Oh, right. I didn't realize we had to stick with that. So, what do we have to do when we've read the biography?
Well, then we have to choose one work by the writer. Again, it's got to be something quite long. We can't just read a short story.
But I guess a collection of short stories would be okay?
Yes, or even a collection of poems, they said. But I think most people are doing novels. I'm going to do Wuthering Heights. I've read it before, but I really want to read it again now I've found out more about the writer.
And then the video. We have to make a short video about our author and about the book. How long has it got to be?
A minute.
What? Like 60 seconds? We got to give all the important information about their life and the book we choose?
Well, you can't do everything. I wrote it down somewhere. Yes, Dr. Castle said we had to find or write a short passage that helps to explain the author's passion for writing, why they're a writer. So we can back this up with reference to important events in the writer's life, if they're relevant. But it's up to us, really. The video's meant to portray the essence of the writer's life and the piece of writing we choose.
So when we read the biography, we have to think about what kind of person our writer is.
Yes, and the historical context and so on. So for my writer, Emily Bronte, the biography gave a really strong impression of the place where she lived and the countryside around.
Right. I'm beginning to get the idea.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Can I check the other requirements with you?
Sure.
The handout said after we'd read the biography, we had to read the work we'd chosen by our author and choose a passage that's typical in some way, that typifies the author's interests and style.
Yes, but at the same time, it has to relate to the biographical extract you choose. There's got to be some sort of theme linking them.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then you have to think about the video.
So are we meant to dramatize the scene we choose?
I guess we could, but there's not a lot of time for that. I think it's more how we can use things like sound effects to create the atmosphere, the feeling we want.
And presumably visuals as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I suppose that's the whole point of making a video. But whatever we use has to be historically in keeping with the author. We can use things like digital image processing to do it all.
So we can use any computer software we want?
Sure. And it's important that we use a range, not just one software program. That's actually one of the things we're assessed on.
Okay.
Oh, and something else that's apparently really important is to keep track of the materials we use and to acknowledge them.
Including stuff we download off the internet, presumably?
Yeah, so our video has to list all the material used with details of the source in a bibliography at the end.
Okay. And you were talking about assessment of the project. Did they give us the criteria? I couldn't find anything on the handout.
Sure. He gave us them in the lecture. Let's see, you get 25% just for getting all the components done. That's both sets of reading and the video. Then the second part is actually how successful we are at getting the essence of the work. They call that content, and that counts for 50%. Then the last 25% is on the video itself, the artistic and technical side.
Great. Well, that sounds a lot of work, but a whole lot better than just handing in a paper. Thanks a lot, Olivia.
You're welcome.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a woman giving a talk at a popular science convention. She is describing research into artificial gills designed to enable humans to breathe underwater. Now you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
In my talk today, I'll be exploring the idea of artificial gills. I'll start by introducing the concept, giving some background and so forth, and then I'll go on to explain the technological applications, including a short, very simple experiment I conducted. Starting with the background. As everyone knows, all living creatures need oxygen to live. Mammals take in oxygen from the atmosphere by using their lungs, and fishes take oxygen from water by means of their gills, which of course in most fishes are located either side of their head. But human beings have always dreamt of being able to swim underwater like the fishes, breathing without the help of oxygen tanks. I don't know whether any of you have done any scuba diving, but it's a real pain having to use all that equipment. You need special training, and it's generally agreed that tanks are too heavy and big to enable most people to move and work comfortably underwater. So scientists are trying a different tack. Rather than humans carrying an oxygen supply as they go underwater, wouldn't it be possible to extract oxygen in situ? That is, directly from the water while swimming. In the 1960s, the famous underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau, for example, predicted that one day surgery could be used to equip humans with gills. He believed our lungs could be bypassed and we would learn to live underwater just as naturally as we live on land. But of course, most of us would prefer not to go to such extremes. I've been looking at some fairly simple technologies developed to extract oxygen from water, ways to produce a simple, practical artificial gill, enabling humans to live and breathe in water without harm. Now, how scientists and inventors went about this was to look at the way different animals handled this. Fairly obviously, they looked at the way fishes breathe, but also how they move down and float up to the surface using inflatable sacs called swim bladders. Scientists also looked at animals without gills, which use bubbles of air underwater, notably beetles. These insects contrive to stay underwater for long periods by breathing from this bubble, which they hold under their wing cases. By looking at these animal adaptations, inventors began to come up with their own artificial gills. Now, making a crude gill is actually rather easy, more straightforward. You take a watertight box, which is made of a material which is permeable to gas, that is, it allows it to pass through inwards and outwards. You then fill this with air, fix it to the diver's face, and go down underwater. But a crucial factor is that the diver has to keep the water moving so that water high in oxygen is always in contact with the gill, so he can't really stay still. And to maximize this contact, it's necessary for your gill to have a big surface area. Different gill designers have addressed this problem in different ways, but many choose to use a network or lattice arrangement of tiny tubes as part of their artificial gills. Then the diver is able to breathe in and out. Oxygen from the water passes through the outer walls of the gill, and carbon dioxide is expelled. In a nutshell, that's how the artificial gill works. So, having read about these simple gill mechanisms, I decided to create my own. I followed the procedure I've just described, and it worked pretty well when I tried it out in the swimming pool. I lasted underwater for nearly 40 minutes. However, I've read about other people breathing through their gill for several hours. So the basic idea works well, but the real limitation is that these simple gills don't work as the diver descends to any great depth because the pressure builds and a whole different set of problems are caused by that. Research is being done into how these problems might be overcome, but that's another story, which has to be a subject of another talk. Despite this serious limitation, many people have high hopes for the artificial gill, and they think it might have applications beyond simply enabling an individual to stay underwater for a length of time. For example, the same technology might be used to provide oxygen for submarines, enabling them to stay submerged for months on end without resorting to potentially dangerous technologies such as nuclear power. Another idea is to use oxygen derived from the water as energy for fuel cells. These could power machinery underwater, such as robotic devices. So, in my view, this is an area of technology with great potential. Now, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes,
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.